In this video, we delve into the tragic case of Nolan Buchanan and his family, a story that highlights the intricate web of family dynamics intertwined with crime. Nolan Buchanan, a young man with a promising future, was known for his vibrant personality and deep connections with those around him. Growing up in a close-knit community, he was the kind of person who easily made friends and was often the life of the party. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic life lay complexities that would soon unravel in a shocking manner. As we explore Nolan's life leading up to the incident, we uncover the challenges he faced, including familial pressures and personal struggles that contributed to a tumultuous environment. The Buchanan family, while appearing to be a typical household, grappled with underlying issues that would ultimately culminate in a heartbreaking tragedy. This case serves as a poignant reminder of how fragile family relationships can be and how quickly circumstances can spiral out of control. As we navigate through the details of this incident, we aim to engage you with the emotional depth of Nolan's story, shedding light on the factors that led to this devastating event. The complexities of family dynamics often play a crucial role in shaping individual choices, and in Nolan's case, these dynamics were no exception. We invite you to join us as we unpack the layers of this case, examining not only the events that transpired, but also the broader implications for families facing similar struggles. Through this exploration, we hope to foster a deeper understanding of the intersection between personal challenges and familial relationships, ultimately encouraging a conversation about the importance of communication and support within families. Stay tuned as we unravel the tragic narrative of Nolan Buchanan, a story that resonates with many and serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of life and the bonds we hold dear. Before the tragic events unfolded, Nolan Buchanan was a young man brimming with ambition and a sense of accomplishment. As the owner of Buchanan Construction, he had successfully carved out a niche for himself in the competitive world of construction, earning respect and admiration from peers and clients alike. Nolan took immense pride in his work, often reflecting on the long hours and dedication that had led him to this point. His feelings of success were not just tied to his business, they were also deeply rooted in his desire to provide for his family and contribute positively to his community. Nolan was known for his strong work ethic and unwavering commitment to quality, traits that endeared him to both his employees and clients. Nolan's relationships with family and friends were a cornerstone of his life. He was a devoted son, a loving brother, and a loyal friend, always ready to lend a helping hand or offer words of encouragement. His charismatic personality and genuine nature made him a beloved figure among those who knew him. Family gatherings were filled with laughter and warmth, and Nolan often took the lead in organizing events that brought everyone together. His friends admired his ability to balance work and play, often seeking his advice on both personal and professional matters. However, beneath this facade of success and happiness lay a stark contrast to the impending tragedy that would soon engulf his life. While Nolan was on the cusp of achieving even greater heights in his career, the pressures of maintaining his business and the expectations of those around him began to weigh heavily on him. The very relationships that once brought him joy started to strain under the weight of unspoken tensions and unresolved issues. As we reflect on Nolan's promising future, it becomes increasingly poignant to consider how quickly circumstances can shift, transforming a life filled with potential into one marked by heartbreak and loss. This juxtaposition serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the unforeseen challenges that can alter our paths in an instant. On September 13, 2015, a devastating fire engulfed the Buchanan family's cabin, marking a tragic turning point in their lives. The timeline of events leading up to that fateful day began several weeks prior, as Nolan Buchanan and his family prepared for a weekend getaway to their beloved retreat in the woods. Anticipation filled the air as they packed their belongings, eager to escape the pressures of daily life and enjoy quality time together. However, unbeknownst to them, this trip would end in unimaginable tragedy. As the sun set on that September evening, the cabin was ablaze, flames licking the sky and smoke billowing into the air. The initial response from the local fire department was swift, with firefighters arriving on the scene within minutes. Despite their best efforts to extinguish the flames, the fire had already consumed much of the structure. As they battled the inferno, the grim reality began to unfold. The remains of several individuals were discovered within the charred remains of the cabin. The fire department's initial assessment indicated that the situation was far more complex than a simple accident. The discovery of the victims sparked a wave of confusion and sorrow as the community grappled with the loss of the Buchanan family. Questions swirled around the circumstances of the fire, leading to a full-scale investigation. Authorities worked diligently to piece together the events leading up to the tragedy, examining everything from the cabin's electrical systems to the possibility of foul play. The mystery surrounding the victims deepened as investigators sought to understand not only how the fire started, but also the dynamics within the family that may have contributed to the tragic outcome. As the investigation unfolded, the community remained on edge, desperate for answers. The fire that had once been a symbol of family bonding now stood as a haunting reminder of loss and uncertainty. The complexities of the case would soon reveal layers of intrigue, drawing attention to the fragile nature of family ties and the unforeseen consequences of hidden struggles. In the aftermath of the devastating fire at the Buchanan family's cabin, the initial investigation quickly turned into a desperate search for Adam, Molly, and Gavin Buchanan, who were reported missing. Law enforcement agencies mobilized immediately, launching extensive efforts to locate the missing family members. Search teams scoured the surrounding woods, utilizing dogs and drones to cover vast areas, while local volunteers joined in, hoping to find any sign of the Buchanans. The community rallied together, driven by a shared sense of urgency and concern for the family's well-being. As the investigation progressed, authorities made a significant discovery. A vehicle linked to the Buchanan family was found abandoned a few miles from the cabin. This vehicle, a family SUV, raised immediate questions about the circumstances surrounding their disappearance. The presence of the vehicle suggested that the family had not left the area voluntarily, leading investigators to consider the possibility of foul play. The implications of this discovery were profound, as it shifted the focus of the investigation from a simple missing persons case to a more complex and troubling scenario. With each passing day, the growing suspicion surrounding the family's disappearance intensified. Investigators began to piece together the timeline of events leading up to the fire, interviewing friends, relatives, and neighbors to gather insights into the family's dynamics and any potential conflicts that may have existed. As they delved deeper, they uncovered a web of relationships that hinted at underlying tensions, raising further questions about what might have transpired before the tragic incident. The community, once filled with hope for the safe return of the Buchanans, now grappled with a sense of unease. Rumors circulated, and speculation ran rampant as people sought to make sense of the situation. The initial investigation, which began as a search for a missing family, evolved into a complex inquiry into the circumstances surrounding their disappearance and the fire that had claimed their cabin. As investigators worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, the mystery deepened, leaving the community in a state of anxiety and anticipation for answers that seemed increasingly elusive. As the investigation into the tragic fire at the Buchanan family's cabin progressed, the discovery of human remains within the charred debris marked a pivotal moment that shifted the focus of the inquiry. Forensic teams meticulously examined the fire scene, sifting through the ashes and remnants of the structure to gather crucial evidence. The significance of the remains was profound. They not only confirmed the worst fears of the community, but also indicated that the fire was not merely an accident. The forensic examination aimed to identify the remains and determine the cause of death, which would be critical in understanding the circumstances surrounding the tragedy. As investigators delved deeper into the evidence, a chilling theory began to emerge: homicide. The initial findings suggested that the victims may not have perished solely due to the fire. Signs of trauma and other indicators pointed to foul play, prompting law enforcement to re-evaluate their approach. This shift in focus from a missing persons case to a potential homicide investigation heightened the urgency to solve the case. Investigators began to explore the possibility that the Buchanans had been victims of a violent crime, leading them to scrutinize the family's relationships and any potential motives that could have led to such a horrific outcome. With each new detail that emerged, the pressure mounted on law enforcement to uncover the truth. The community, already reeling from the loss, demanded answers, and the urgency to resolve the case became palpable. Investigators worked around the clock, piecing together timelines, interviewing witnesses, and analyzing forensic evidence in hopes of identifying suspects and motives. The stakes were high, as the implications of the findings not only affected the investigation, but also the healing process for a community grappling with grief and uncertainty. As the investigation unfolded, the narrative surrounding the Buchanan family transformed from one of hope for their safe return to a complex and harrowing tale of loss, betrayal, and the quest for justice. The urgency to solve the case intensified as the community awaited answers that could finally bring closure to a tragedy that had shaken them to their core. The troubled relationship between Adam and Molly Buchanan was marked by a history of abuse and conflict that cast a long shadow over the entire family. Over the years, their marriage had deteriorated, characterized by frequent arguments and escalating tensions. Friends and family members noted the signs of distress, with reports of verbal altercations and at times physical confrontations. This tumultuous environment created a sense of instability that permeated the household, affecting not only Adam and Molly, but also their children, particularly Nolan, who often found himself caught in the crossfire. Nolan, a sensitive and perceptive young man, bore the brunt of the emotional fallout from his parents' troubled relationship. Witnessing the conflict between Adam and Molly took a toll on his mental well-being, leaving him feeling anxious and helpless. He often tried to mediate between them, hoping to restore some semblance of peace, but his efforts were met with frustration and disappointment. The strain of his parents' discord weighed heavily on Nolan, shaping his worldview and influencing his aspirations. He longed for a stable family life, yet felt trapped in a cycle of conflict that seemed inescapable. The impact of Adam and Molly's relationship extended beyond their immediate interactions. It reverberated throughout the family dynamic. The children were not only witnesses to the discord, but also participants in a dysfunctional environment that normalized conflict. This atmosphere of tension and instability likely contributed to the emotional struggles faced by Nolan and his siblings, creating a breeding ground for resentment and fear. As the family grappled with their issues, the potential for tragedy loomed ever larger, suggesting that the very dynamics that had caused so much pain could also play a role in the events that unfolded. As investigators delved into the circumstances surrounding the fire, the idea that family dynamics may have played a significant role in the tragedy became increasingly apparent. The unresolved conflicts and deep-seated issues within the Buchanan family painted a complex picture, one that hinted at the possibility that the tragedy was not merely an accident, but rather a culmination of years of turmoil. Understanding this troubled relationship was crucial in piecing together the events leading to that fateful day, as it underscored the profound impact of familial strife on the lives of those involved. As the investigation into the tragic deaths of the Buchanan family unfolded, Nolan Buchanan emerged as a central figure in the events leading up to the fire. Initially, he provided an alibi that seemed plausible, claiming he had been away from the cabin during the time of the incident. Nolan stated that he had gone to meet a friend in a nearby town, a detail that investigators initially accepted as part of their inquiry. However, as they delved deeper into the timeline, inconsistencies began to surface in his statements, raising eyebrows and prompting further scrutiny. Investigators meticulously pieced together the timeline of Nolan's whereabouts on that fateful day. While he maintained that he was not present at the cabin, evidence began to contradict his claims. Witnesses reported seeing him in the vicinity of the cabin shortly before the fire broke out, and surveillance footage from a local gas station captured him purchasing items that raised questions about his intentions. These discrepancies in his story led investigators to reconsider his role in the tragic events, shifting the focus toward him as a potential suspect. As the investigation progressed, the evidence against Nolan began to mount. Forensic analysis revealed traces of accelerants at the fire scene, suggesting that the fire may have been intentionally set. This discovery, coupled with Nolan's inconsistent statements, painted a troubling picture that implicated him in the tragedy.
The emotional turmoil he had experienced due to his family's conflicts, particularly the strained relationship between his parents, added another layer of complexity to the investigation. Investigators began to explore the possibility that Nolan's frustrations and feelings of helplessness may have driven him to act out in a desperate attempt to escape the turmoil. The shift in focus toward Nolan as a suspect was not taken lightly by the community, which had initially rallied around him in support. As the narrative evolved, the once beloved son and brother became a figure of suspicion, leaving many grappling with the unsettling reality that the tragedy might have stemmed from within the family itself. The investigation into Nolan's role in the events leading to the family's deaths became a critical aspect of the case, raising profound questions about the impact of familial strife and the lengths to which individuals might go when pushed to their limits. The investigation into the tragic fire that claimed the lives of the Buchanan family took a decisive turn with the emergence of key pieces of evidence that ultimately led to Nolan's arrest. Forensic evidence played a crucial role in establishing a connection between Nolan and the crime scene. Investigators discovered traces of accelerants at the site of the fire, indicating that it had been intentionally set. Further analysis revealed that the chemical composition of the accelerants matched substances found in Nolan's possession, raising significant red flags about his involvement. This forensic evidence was pivotal in linking him directly to the crime, suggesting a premeditated act rather than a mere accident. In addition to the forensic findings, the discovery of a rifle and personal items belonging to the family added another layer of complexity to the case. During a search of Nolan's residence, authorities uncovered a rifle that had been reported missing from the Buchanan cabin. This weapon, along with other personal belongings, such as clothing and items belonging to his siblings, suggested that Nolan had been in the cabin shortly before the fire. The presence of these items in his possession raised further suspicions and painted a troubling picture of his potential motives. The timeline of events leading to Nolan's arrest was critical in establishing a coherent narrative of the tragedy. Investigators meticulously reconstructed the hours leading up to the fire, noting that Nolan had been seen near the cabin shortly before the flames erupted. Witnesses reported hearing raised voices coming from the cabin, and the timeline indicated that Nolan had returned to the area just as the fire began. This sequence of events, combined with the forensic evidence and the discovery of the rifle, created a compelling case against him. As the investigation progressed, the mounting evidence culminated in Nolan's arrest, transforming him from a grieving son into a prime suspect in a case that had captivated the community. The implications of his arrest sent shockwaves through the town as the narrative shifted from one of tragedy to one of potential betrayal and familial conflict. The evidence against Nolan painted a complex picture of a young man caught in a web of despair, raising profound questions about the nature of family dynamics and the lengths to which individuals might go when faced with overwhelming emotional turmoil. The trial process for Nolan Buchanan was a highly publicized and emotionally charged affair, reflecting the tragic circumstances surrounding the deaths of his family. Nolan faced multiple charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder, arson, and possession of an unregistered firearm. The prosecution presented a compelling case, relying heavily on forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the timeline of events that pointed to Nolan's involvement in the fire that claimed his family's lives. In response, Nolan's defense strategy aimed to cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative, arguing that the evidence was circumstantial and that there was no definitive proof of intent to kill. Nolan's defense team sought to portray him as a troubled young man who had been deeply affected by the tumultuous dynamics within his family. They emphasized his emotional struggles and the psychological toll of living in a household marked by conflict and abuse. The defense argued that Nolan was not a cold-blooded murderer, but rather a victim of circumstance, grappling with overwhelming grief and confusion. Despite their efforts, the prosecution's case was robust, and the jury was tasked with weighing the evidence carefully. After several days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict that sent shockwaves through the courtroom and the community. Nolan was found guilty on all counts, a decision that underscored the gravity of the charges against him. The implications of the sentencing were profound, as Nolan faced a lengthy prison term that would effectively sever him from the life he once knew. The verdict not only marked a tragic conclusion to the case, but also left many grappling with the complexities of familial relationships and the consequences of unresolved conflict. During the sentencing phase, the judge delivered poignant remarks about Nolan's future and potential for rehabilitation. Acknowledging the tragic circumstances that led to the events, the judge expressed hope that Nolan could find a path toward redemption, emphasizing the importance of addressing the underlying issues that contributed to his actions. The judge's comments highlighted the belief that even in the face of such profound loss, there remains the possibility for growth and change. As Nolan faced the reality of his sentence, the community was left to reflect on the intricate web of family dynamics, the fragility of life, and the enduring quest for understanding and healing in the aftermath of tragedy. The tragic case of Nolan Buchanan serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities surrounding family dynamics and the potential consequences of unresolved conflict. Throughout this video, we have explored the key elements of this heartbreaking story, beginning with Nolan's promising life and aspirations before the tragic events unfolded. We examined the troubled relationship between his parents, Adam and Molly, which created an unstable environment for Nolan and his siblings. The investigation into the fire that claimed the lives of the Buchanan family revealed a web of evidence, leading to Nolan's arrest and subsequent trial. We discussed the forensic findings that linked Nolan to the crime scene, including the discovery of accelerants and personal items belonging to the family. As the trial progressed, we highlighted the charges brought against him and the defense strategy that sought to portray him as a victim of his circumstances. Ultimately, the jury's verdict and the judge's remarks during sentencing underscored the tragic implications of the case, emphasizing the importance of addressing the underlying issues that can lead to such devastating outcomes. This case illustrates the critical need to understand family dynamics in the context of crime. The emotional turmoil and unresolved conflicts within families can have far-reaching effects, influencing the actions of individuals and shaping their responses to stress and trauma. By examining these dynamics, we can foster a deeper understanding of the factors that contribute to tragic events and work toward prevention and healing. As we conclude this exploration of the Nolan Buchanan case, we encourage you to reflect on the lessons learned and the importance of open communication within families. If you found this video informative and engaging, please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may benefit from this content. Your support helps us continue to create meaningful discussions around complex topics and share stories that resonate with our audience. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to bringing you more insightful content in the future.